Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into Uncharted 1, Drake's Fortune. I'm going to be breaking down the story, the gameplay, whether it's really worth your time or not. I'll cover the highs, the lows, and everything in between. So by the end of the video, you'll know exactly what to expect before you hit that download button if you're on PS5 or if you're on... Now this game's on PC as well, so if you'll hit that install button. So let's jump right into it. So the game opens up in the middle of the ocean. Nathan Drake, who is a confident, playful person, surfaces from the water, dragging up a coffin of Sir Francis Drake. Filming everything is journalist Elena Fisher, who hopes to prove her TV show is more than a fluff piece. So the coffin is believed to contain the body of Sir Francis Drake, Nate's ancestor, but when Nate cracks it open, it's empty, except for a diary. Inside are the coordinates and cryptic clues containing points or clues towards El Dorado, the fabled city of gold. Before they can celebrate, pirates descend on the small boats, guns blazing. Gameplay teaches the player how to aim, take cover, throw punches. As the fight grows desperate, explosions rock the vessel, but salvation swoops in from the skies. Her supporting character, Victor Sullivan, also known as Sully, Nate's mentor and friend, lands his seaplane nearby and helps blast the pirates away. They barely escape alive. As they regroup from the plane, Sully convinces Nathan that bringing a reporter into this hunt is a bad idea. Elena wants to stay, but Nate tricks her into being left behind, claiming it's for her safety. With El Dorado now in their sights, Nate and Sully fly off into an adventure. So the search begins with the journey leads them toward a remote island deep in the Pacific. The plane swoops low, weaving through misty cliffs before Nate and Sully set down in the clearing. We now step into Nate's boots, fully learning traversal as he climbs mossy ledges, swims across vines, and pushes through dense jungle canopy. The ruins of a Spanish fortress rise before them, cracked and weathered by centuries of storms. Inside this, they solve environmental puzzles using Sir Francis Drake's diary, rotating stone switches, pushing blocks into place, and aligning carved symbols. The diary serves as a player's guide, bridging story with gameplay. As Nate and Sully move deeper inside, they uncover carvings and journals suggesting El Dorado isn't a city at all, but a giant golden statue itself. The Spanish conquistadors carried it way long ago, dragging it inland across the island, basically. So just as they piece this together, mercenaries begin to appear, men with Roman insignia. Combat becomes more dangerous, with waves of enemies rushing the crumbling fortress. Nate exchanges gunfire and melees across balconies that collapses beneath them. The island, once seemingly quiet, is already crawling with enemies now. So the chapter closes with Nate and Sully staring at ancient drawings. The legend is changing before their eyes. And El Dorado isn't a paradise of wealth, it's something far stranger. The sun filters through the canopy as Nate and Sully press deeper into the island. Following the trail left behind by Sir Francis, the ruins of a sprawling Spanish fortress rise before them, a wall scarred by cannon fire and time. Gameplay here leans heavily on platforming, climbing across moss-covered walls, leaping across crumbling bridges, and shimmying along ledges as well, where a single misstep means a plunge into the jungle below. Inside, they discover signs of hurried evacuation. The conquest left quickly, carrying something massive. Using Sir Francis' diaries, Nate solved his puzzles involving pressure plates and rotating switches, slowly piecing together the treasures. Indeed was a golden idol, El Dorado itself. But the search is interrupted by the sound of engines and shouting. Armed mercenaries led by Gabriel Roman storm the fortress. The firefight erupts among the ruins. Cover mechanics come into play as Nathan ducks behind broken columns, popping out to take shots while Sully provides backup with his revolver. The battle ends in a narrow victory, but the discovery is clear. The statue was dragged inland towards the heart of the island. The search quickly turns dangerous and Nate and Sully fly the seaplane further inland. Gunfire rips through the sky. Romans forces open fire, tearing the plane apart. The sequence is pure chaos. Alarms blare, flames shrug across the wings. Nate is forced to grab a parachute The player scrambles to the cargo hold and leaps into the stormy night as the plane explodes behind him. When Nate wakes, he's alone in the dense jungle. His weapons are scattered, and Roman's mercenaries are already combing the area. Gameplay shows into survival mode, sneaking through tall grass, taking out enemies with stealth grabs, and scavenging pistols from fallen foes. The lush greenery is a stark contrast to the burning wreckage nearby. Nate's immediate goal is simple: survive, regroup, and find Sully. Nate stumbles deeper into the island, tracing parachute cloth snagged on trees and cliffs. Combat escalates here with small squads of mercenaries hustling with him through waterfalls, rope bridges, and ancient stone paths. Cover-based shooting is imprecise, but so is traversal itself. Nate must constantly climb, swing, and leap to outmaneuver ambushes. At a clearing, he discovers one of the parachutes angled high in trees. Just as despair begins to creep in, Elena emerges from the foliage. She has stowed away on a plane after Nate and Sully try to ditch her, camera in hand, and she insists on continuing to document the journey regardless of the danger. Their uneasy partnership is rekindled as the two set off together, following the trail towards the coast and deeper into the ruins. With Elena back at his side, Nate pushes deeper into the island's ruins. They approach another sprawling Spanish fortress, half swallowed by jungle roots and vines, its towers crumbling into the sea. From the very first steps inside, the place feels hostile, a mix of booby traps, dead ends, and roaming mercenaries. Gameplay blends exploration combat, play scale, broken staircase, leap across precarious gaps, and shimmy along mossy ledges as gunmen fire from above. Elena follows close, recording footage while providing banter that lightens the mood between firefights. The diary once again becomes essential, guiding Nate through cryptic engravings and liver-based puzzles that opens new chambers. As they navigate the fortress interior, Roman men attack in waves. Grenades rain down stairwells, enemies flank from balconies, and cover constantly crumbles from under gunfire, forcing players to keep moving. Nate adapts with quick rolls, precise pistol shots, and the occasional shotgun blast to clear space. Nate and Elena finally discover another major clue. The Spaniards never settled here. They passed through in a rush, dragging something massive towards the coast. The fortress was just a waypoint, a staging ground for the statue's transport. The chapter ends on a cliffhanger as Elena pans her camera across the ruins, musing that the story is becoming less about the treasure but more about survival. As Nate and Elena leave the fortress, Roman's mercenaries descend on them with overwhelming force. Gunfire spills across courtyards, ruined hallways, and crumbling towers. Gameplay intensifies with larger enemy squads, grenades, and heavier weapons. The environment itself becomes a weapon. Columns collapse under fire, and cover is constantly destroyed. The pair make their way to a stone tower from its highest point. Nate spots more evidence. He spots that the conquistadors dragged El Dorado further inland from something forced them to abandon it. But before he can plan their next move, mercenaries cut off their escape. A desperate firefight erupts, capped off with a cinematic escape sequence as Nate and Elena leap from a collapsing tower onto the jungle canopy below. The jungle path leads to a half-sunken city, cobblestone streets now flooded waist deep, with rooftops poking above the waterline. Elena is fascinated recording the overgrown ruins with Nate's eyes headset. Mercenaries ambush them at every turn, the gunfire echoing across the flooded city. Combat is tense, with enemies using the high ground and Nate forced to climb to flush them out. Puzzles are layered into environments, activating water wheels, opening floodgates, and pulling levers into enemies' attacks. As they fight their way through, Nate uncovers more about the Spaniards' route. They didn't leave the statue here either. They pressed inland towards a monastery perched on the cliffs. The cursed trail of El Dorado stretches deeper into the island. Pressing onwards, Nate and Elena find themselves in a long ruin of long-abandoned customs house. The Spaniard once used it to catalog shipments of treasure, and Roman's mercenaries now comb the area. The gameplay now becomes more vertical, with firefights breaking out on catwalks, balconies, and multi-story chambers. For the first time, Sully reappears. Nate, shocked to see him alive, learns that the diary he carries stopped Roman's bullet. Their reunion is brief, though, as mercenaries launch a few assaults on the trio. Together, they fend off waves of enemies while navigating custom house puzzles, aligning gears, shifting bridges, and unlocking gates to reach the upper floors. As the dust settles, Sully reveals that Roman is close to the treasure. Navarro seems to know more than he lets on. The clues confirm it. The statue was moved inland to the monastery. The next leg of the journey is clear.
Is that it?
So,
That my
leaving the
deal?
customs house
Die
behind,
now,
Nate,
or
Elaine,
help
and
you
Sully
and
began
die
their
later.
trek
Oh, it's a tough
deeper
call, but
into
you know
the
what?
island interior.
I'll
The
take
jungle
die
grows
now.
denser, the ruins more fragmented. The signs of conquestors' desperate march become clearer. Gameplay here is traversal heavy. Nate scales mossy ledges and swings across walls. Combat remains constant with Roman's mercenaries ambushing the group from rocky outcrops and collapsed stairways. Elena often spots snipers and points them out as well. At one point, the group stumbles onto a large clearing where mercenaries have set up camp around an ancient stone bridge. A cinematic shootout erupts, forcing Nate to leap between collapsing sections of stones while enemies fire from all sides. By the chapter ends, Nate and Elena glimpse the monastery through the jungle canopy. Its spires rise above the treetops. The statue of El Dorado was taken 3 centuries ago when Roman is slowing in. The race to reach it first has never been more urgent. Nate and Elena finally reach the base of the monastery. Its gothic spires jutting out from the cliffs like jagged teeth, overgrown vines strangle its stone walls. This was where the Spaniards last tracked the El Dorado, and Francis Drake's diary suggests that the truth lies within. Gameplay in this chapter emphasizes puzzles and platforming. Nate uses the diary to align massive stone statues representing the apostles, turning them in precise directions to unlock secret passages. Inside the monastery's shadowy halls, the architecture becomes as much a challenge as the mercenary who lurks within. Combat escalates in intensity. Roman's men have fortified the sanctuary using sandbags and mounted guns. Nate ducks in and out of cover while Elena points out flanking enemies. Her camera now momentarily set aside as survival takes priority. Each cleared courtyard reveals another puzzle or blocked passage, forcing players to alternate between frantic firefights and methodical exploration. At the heart of Sanctuary, nature uncovers chilling clues. Carvings and journals reveal that Sir Francis Drake had no intention of claiming the treasure for himself. Instead, he sought to seal it away. The Spaniards who tried to take El Dorado suffered something terrible, though the full truth remains hidden for now. Leaving the sanctuary's inner chamber, Nate and Elena press deeper into the monastery grounds. The architecture becomes more maze-like. So gameplay alternates between firefights and traversal puzzles. Nate uses the diary to interpret more cryptic markings, unlocking secret passageways and hidden doors. As they move forward, Nate starts piecing together the bigger picture. Sir Francis Drake tried to contain El Dorado, not find it, but Roman is determined to claim it for himself even as the signs of the curse grows clearer.
How did you get here?
You really need to see this.
The monastery leads to a vast vault chamber, its walls covered with Spanish carving depicting the journey of El Dorado. The chapter slows the pace into a puzzle solving, aligning symbols, lighting braziers, and activating ancient mechanisms. In cutscenes and journals, Nate realizes the Spanish tried to ship El Dorado off the island, but something catastrophic happened. The vault suggests it's not a treasure at all, but something dangerous. Combat ramps up. Midway, a mercenaries storm the vault, forcing Nate to hold ground while Elena helps from cover. Enemies toss grenades into confined spaces, making cover unreliable and forcing constant movement. By the end, Nate sees the chilling truth. El Dorado was carried towards island's catacombs. The Spaniards didn't abandon their quest willingly. Something stopped them. The trail then leads beneath the monastery into dark catacombs. The mood shifts drastically here. Gone is the adventurous atmosphere replaced by a creeping sense of dread. Flickering torchlight guides Nate and Elena as they descend deeper into the island's belly. Gameplay becomes more tense, exploration mixed with sudden ambushes. Nate climbs along sheer drops while Elena Flynn films the descent. The chapter ends with a terrifying glimpse of the descendants, feral mutilated creatures that attack in swarms, remnants of conscripted cursed by El Dorado. For the first time, players face enemies faster and more brutal than mercenaries, forcing reliance on shotguns and quick reflexes. Nate and Elena stumble into a decayed Nazi bunker, relic of a World War II. Documents scattered inside reveal the Nazis also sought El Dorado and met the same cursed fate. Rusted machinery and swastika-marked crates lined with the holes, eerie reminders of their failed expedition. Gameplay here shifts into survival horror. Darkness swallows most of the corridors, and player relies on flashlight beams and muzzle flashes as swarms of descendants leap from the shadows. Ammo is scarce, tension constant. Elena records everything, finally capturing proof of the curse. The deeper they go, the clearer it becomes. Francis Drake died here trying to stop the curse from spreading. He was never after the goal, he was trying to protect the world. The bunker is pitch black, forcing Nate to restore power. Gameplay revolves around navigating the maze-like corridors, pulling switches and restarting generators while waves of descendants ambush them. It's one of the tensest segments. Players juggle solving mechanical puzzles whilst fighting for survival as well. As the power surges back on, eerie lights reveal more of the Nazis' failed excavation. But something far worse looms. Navarro and Roman are closing in on El Dorado itself. Just as Nate and Elena fight their way out of the bunker, Roman's mercenaries storm the place. For the first time, players must fend off both mercenaries and descendants in chaotic three-way battles. Nate uses the chaos to his advantage, letting the creatures stare into the murks while he slips through. In a chilling cutscene, Roman finally reaches El Dorado. Overcome by greed, he forces the statue open and black vapor engulfs him. Moments later, his body mutates grotesquely. Navarro, calm and calculating, executes him without hesitation. Unlike Roman, Navarro always knew the truth. The statue is cursed, and he plans to sell it as a bioweapon. Navarro's betrayal shifts the stakes. He has El Dorado airlifted from his resting place, trapping it beneath a helicopter to transport off the island. Gameplay intensifies as Nate fights through catacombs and cliffside ruins, chasing after Navarro's men. The supernatural and human threats collide here. Descendants swarm through the caverns while mercenaries fire from the elevated platforms. Nate battles through both, pressing onwards and with sheer determination. Navarro is airborne with the statue heading for a freighter anchored off the coast. Nate has no choice but to follow. Nate and Elena pursue Navarro to the shoreline where the statue is being loaded into a massive freighter. The environment is a mix of collapsing piers, burning bridges, and chaotic gunfights. Gameplay highlights including leaping between burning docks, taking out enemies in precarious angles, and chasing the helicopter as it lowers the statue onto the ship. Elena is briefly captured, upping the urgency. The freighter is a fortress of steel and firepower. Navarro's men patrol every deck, and combat is tight and brutal. With little cover and constant flanking, Nate fights through cargo hold, control room, and finally the open deck under a stormy sky. Cinematic tension builds as the helicopter prepares to move the statue again. Nate pushes forward relentlessly, driven by Elena's capture and Navarro's betrayal. Elena is bound and held hostage as Navarro taunts Nate. Gameplay shifts into a tense final boss fight. Navarro wields a shotgun and commands waves of mercenaries, forcing Nate into a cover-to-cover gunplay while dodging his attacks. The fight culminates in a cinematic melee sequence where Nate counters Navarro blow for blow. At the climax, Nate seizes control of the ship's crane. He hooks El Dorado, swinging it violently before dropping it into the ocean. Navarro, caught in the chains, is dragged into the depths along with the cursed statue, lost beneath the waves forever. The storm clears as the freighter sinks. Nate rushes to free Elena, and together they escape the wreck. Just when it seems they're stranded, Sully appears in a small boat, grinning and loaded with salvaged treasure. The final cutscene brings the story full circle. Nate and Elena, exhausted but alive, share a quiet, heartfelt moment. The cursed statue is gone, Navarro is dead, and Roman's forces are scattered. For now, the danger has passed. But in Nate's smile and Elena Cambra's lens, it's clear that this is just the beginning of their adventure together. That will be seen in the next Uncharted 2, 3, and 4 as well. So for my review, is it worth buying in 2025? I would say yes. Now there are pros and cons with both. The cons being it does look dated, even the remastered version on a PS5. It does look dated. They could have done a better job remastering it, but if you want to experience the Uncharted trilogy, and well, there are 4 parts although, but Nathan Drake's adventure, but if you want to experience all of it, you have to play part 1, and part 1 is, the story is very engaging and will keep you hooked on for 10 to 12 hours, the length of the story itself. So I would suggest that if you're planning to play Uncharted 2, 3 and 4, I would say do play part 1 as well, because it's where the adventure starts. There are funny quips from Sully, the banter between Nathan and Sully and Elena is amazing. They have explored the friendship dynamic between all of them very well. This, the writing is amazing. The acting is amazing. I think the actor was, I think, Yuri Lowenthal, I think, the who voices the Nathan Drake's character. He's done an amazing job. So yeah, I would suggest that you do give it a try. It's not the best Uncharted game, but it's not the worst either, in my opinion. So yeah, I would suggest you go for it and try this. For me, it's an 8 out of 10 because the gunfights sometimes are a bit chunky. The aiming isn't what it should be in 2025, even if they are remastering it. So I expect a little bit more effort. But yeah, the Uncharted 2 and 3 are much better at this, but it's only the Uncharted 1 that has problems like these. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me, and purely because the story is amazing. The story is one to play. You don't see these types of games anymore. You mostly see open world games right now, which, I mean, for me personally, I do miss linear games. Just stick to the story being engaging and keeping you occupied. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me, and stay tuned, and please do comment down if you would like me to review and tell the story of another game that you like. So
yeah, save the world, triumph over evil. Pretty typical.
Really?
It's a shame we're leaving empty-handed, though.
Oh, well, you know, I did manage to save one small thing. Here, I thought you might miss this.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You two got a funny idea of romantic.
Sully! Wow, you look like hell.
You should see the other guys. Got us a boat.
We already have a boat.
Yeah, big boat.
I like this one better.
Sully, you beautiful son of a bitch!
Borrowed it off a couple of pirates who were too dead to care.
Sorry you didn't get your story.
Well, that's all right. There'll be other stories. You still owe me one.
I'm good for it.